Eye on Gauteng, brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development.
It's known as South Africa's theatre of the struggle. The Market Theatre has a reputation for bringing about the democracy and social reform that many South Africans today take for granted. Some of the most critically acclaimed shows are watched here, and the Market Theatre is responsible for nurturing creative talent in the theatre industry in South Africa today. Annabelle, thank you very much for your time. For the culturally illiterate, what is the Market Theatre?
The Market Theatre is a fabulous, fabulous space. It's the home of South African theatre. It's well known as the home of struggle theatre. It's well known as the space that challenges and it provides content from a theatre point that is socially relevant, that socially engages with issues of the day. But I think it's well known for its days in struggle, in the struggle years. It started in 1976, started by Manny Manham and Barney Simon, and it's really been at the forefront of fighting, for the freedoms of South Africans across the board. It's synonymous as well with John Kani and so many other luminaries in the theatre space that have come through the doors, that have showcased on 3 of the theatres that we have at the Market Theatre.
Annabelle, for somebody that has to come to the Market Theatre and walks through your doors, what are they likely to see and what are they likely to experience? Can you take us through?
As you walk through the door, you're likely to just walk into this overwhelming space because it is a heritage site. So the main theatre is one of the main spaces that we have at the Market Theatre. We're actually under renovation at the moment of the main theatre just to increase the capacity size. We've got another smaller experimental space called the Lager Theatre. And at the moment we have a comedy show happening with Goliath and Sfiso Nene that is happening in the Lager Theatre. And we've got just right behind me, we've got the Barney Simon Theatre. And this is where one of the South African classics that was written by John Kani and Winston Chona is currently on show called The Island. It's with John Kani's son and Nat Ramabulana. John Kani's son is Akani. And it's a fascinating story that even though it's based on the island, being Robben Island, I think the issues are still relevant today. Speaking
to you earlier, we were talking about the fact that there are quite a number of Joburgers that have never been to the Market Theatre. What would you say to those people? What are they missing out on in terms of experience, in terms of just becoming culturally literate?
You're actually missing out on an experience to be, on the experience of being in this magical space firstly, but you're missing out on the experience of being able to challenge your mind and to challenge your world from a point of engaging with other South Africans of different races and different backgrounds and different ways of thinking. So you're missing out on that experience. Secondly, you're missing out on the beauty of live theatre. There is nothing as magical as sitting in the main theatre or in the Lager Theatre and seeing a production that literally engages you and challenges you and makes you think differently about things, because that wouldn't necessarily be your space and your environment of being able to engage with those spaces. So the magic of theatre itself is you have to come to the theatre to actually experience it.
Annabelle, how do you market the theatre to the tech-savvy new kids on the block of today that are so reliant on technology to get their entertainment and who might look at the Market Theatre as a bit old-fashioned?
Well, we are active on all the social media platforms. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter handle, we upload most of our productions on YouTube. We don't upload the full production, that would not serve the purpose, but we really just give snippets of what you would expect to see when you came to the show. So I think we in those spaces, it probably is a challenge as to how we further the knowledge of us being in those spaces and how we actually attract tech-savvy young people to our spaces.
In the context of the cultural precinct of Newtown, what role does the Market Theatre play, given the fact that you guys are probably the first ones here and the entire precinct sprouted as a result of the Market Theatre?
We actually see ourselves as the anchor tenant, of the precinct. I think there's something that has to be said about where we sit in the precinct, and that's really has always been at the heart of cultural discourse, at the heart of social engagement. So not only is it about the product that we showcase, but it's also about the way in which the space lends itself to creatives of many shapes and sizes. So the space itself has been known to be You come into the precinct, the first point for you is the Market Theatre. You know, there used to be, people talk about how back in the days, in the heydays, you know, you just walk outside our door and there is the yard of ale. People talk about the way that Kippies, the demise of Kippies, is a sore point for a lot of people, because that's where you knew that you could find real South African jazz on any given day. You know, one other thing that I should mention is that the Market Theatre itself has got two other institutions called the Market Laboratory and the Market Photo Workshop. And this space that we're sitting in, and across the way, there's a Market Photo Gallery. And that in itself is also an institution in that it was set up to provide other platforms of creative conversation, of creative discourse, of creative dialogue.
Looking towards the future, what role do you think the Market Theatre will play, or even theatre for that matter, in shaping the cultural and social discourse of the country, of the city?
So the position of the Market Theatre and the Market Theatre Foundation as an institution is to remain relevant in the content that we produce, in the content that you see in our exhibitions and the content that you see in our theatres. For example, we just with the Market Photo Workshop, we had a very critical exhibition called Social Landscape that spoke about the issues of land. It's a topical issue in South Africa today, but the way in which that topical issue is brought to the public is in photography, right? So a group of South African photographers together with French photographers scoured the land just to be able to nitpick those issues that are critical and relevant today. It's 100 years of the 100th centenary of the Land Act in 2013. That's a topic. You know, it's a serious topic for many South Africans. And so we're wanting to use theatre, we're wanting to use photography as a visual medium to engage and to dialogue and to say to people, let's narrow the scope, let's widen the way in which we engage with issues, the way in which we engage with each other. There was a phenomenal piece done by Gina Schmuckler called The Line that we produced at the Market Theatre last year in partnership with her. And it spoke about the issues of xenophobia and where actually the problem stemmed from. I think it's a production that needs to be seen by all South Africans, because it really talks to our stereotypes and how we see ourselves in relation to the rest of the continent, and how the continent is able to engage with us or not engage with us. So the arts are able to do that, theatre is able to do that, photography is able to do that. It's a different experience altogether. You know, you listen to a radio talk show host, you listen to colleagues, but being in this space, I think it becomes much more personal, you know, and that's what we will continue to do as a Market Theatre. We do have a national footprint, we do have an international footprint, and we pride ourselves on the quality that we're able to present with each and every one of our productions.